This is one of the most amazing steam engines that I've ever seen, made by an old guy named Jim Tangeman out of Oroville, California. And he invented the thing, designed it, made it, and put it in a boat. The boat was called the Fabricator, and it ran for years and years and years. And here's how it started. When you're making an engine yourself, one of the most difficult things to make is a crankshaft and the bearings for the lubrication system. So what several people have done is, for quite a few years in the 70s, one of the best engines made was a 6-cylinder inline Ford, 200 CID, and the reason it was so good is it had seven main bearings, and very few 6-cylinder engines had 7 main bearings. So what Jim did is he started with a Ford engine, and you had the block, and you had the crankshaft in the block, and you had the connecting rods hooked onto the crankshaft. So he started out by sawing the block in two to make it a 3-cylinder. So he sawed it this way to make it a 3-cylinder. Then he flipped the block upside down, and I don't know if you can see for sure, and then he sawed it this way. And so the bottom is the top. The casting is made fairly light. You want to have enough of the casting left so you have the webs in place to hold the bearings. And so that was the whole purpose. You flip it upside down because then there is a flange going around this part of the casting that the oil pan bolts to. And there is a completely flat flange. So then, once you have a flat flange, you then have something to build on. So then you build these rods up, which is the frame of the engine, and you come up high enough and you put in a solid plate here. And this plate is in essence the top of what would have been originally the casting, because your cylinders are here. And then, so you have cylinders that have pistons in there, and you have poppet valves. And this is your exhaust valves are run by this particular push rod, which pushes down the poppet valves in here, and the steam comes out through this exhaust manifold. The intake manifold is over here. It is kept hot. The push rods are in here. They're much shorter, and they push the poppet valve up. The poppet valve opens and lets a high pressure steam in to the head. And the genius that Jim had was he bought a rebuild kit for an International Cub cultivating tractor. You can buy these to this day for a little over $200. You get an iron cylinder liner, which is this. You get 4 pistons. Well, you get 4 of them because that was a little 4-cylinder engine. It was a little cultivating tractor engine. So you get 4 cylinder liners, you get 4 pistons, and that's all basically what you need. Not much else do you need. So what Jim did was he used the crankshaft from the Ford, the connecting rods from the Ford. He had to come up here and modify the little end of the connecting rods so it fit into the wrist pins for the Cub tractor engine. Then he found his own poppet valves. He went to Detroit Diesel, got some poppet valves, had to turn them down to a little smaller. You have valve seats in here, you have valve seats up here, and you're opening and closing your poppet valves to let the exhaust out and let the steam in. He then put something fairly complex, and you'll want to take a look at it, and he has sliding cams. Over here, quite obviously, is the exhaust cams, and they don't have to slide they don't have to have too much variation. But if you come over here on this side and take a look at the cams, which are exposed, it's quite a learning experience. You'll want to start here by looking at your chain drive. The two camshafts are chain driven. Your intake camshafts, I don't know if you notice, but you have four separate cam grinds on here, and you also have a lever here which slides the camshaft back and forth, and so you can change the timing of your intake valves by sliding the camshaft. Now the camshaft slides much easier while it's turning. It will slide when it's not turning, but it's a little hard to get your cam followers over these shoulders with it not turning, so it doesn't look like it runs smoothly, but when it's turning it runs very smoothly. You can go from short cutoff to long cutoff, and you can go to reverse. This is the reversing cam here, and so you can go frontwards, you can go backwards. All you have to do is slide the camshaft. As you might imagine, it took some skill. You can watch your push rods going up and down as the cams are changed. And it is it has everything. It has everything you need. It just, well, the fact that it works is, of course, the miracle. And there it is. Now you would have to see the internally where the valve seat is. You've got your standard poppet valve sit here, which seats going down. And the reason is your pressurized steam comes in here. And so this is your steam chest inside here, which is pushing down on the poppet valve. So you always want to have your steam pressure seating the valve, which in case your poppet valve seating the flange on the valve seat. And you lift the poppet valve off the seat to let the steam go into the top of the cylinder. The exhaust valve is the other way around, in the sense that you have to take without, I would have to show you a poppet valve. You saw the poppet valve off, you flip it upside down, you re-weld it, so that your pressure is always pushing the valve against the seat. And you lift it off the seat in order for the exhaust valve to go out the exhaust manifold. So that's basically it. It's a little crude. The oiling system is crude because you're not using the original pressurized oil pump to run oil pressure into your Babbitt bearings on the crankshaft. And so there's this whole series of little oil drips that are all over the place here. You can see them up here, you can see them here. You're dripping oil, and you end up with quite a bit of oil in the bilge of your steamboat, but that makes it look like a steamboat. Having moving parts, having a little oil floating around, that's what makes a steam engine and a steamboat. And it's extremely modern in the sense that you're using poppet valves. You're using poppet valves, you're using cams, you're using a variable cam. So you can vary the torque enormously from start to high speed, and you can reverse, all with this one camshaft that you slide back and forth. Probably everything you need to know about a modern steam engine is right here. And it saves you the whole work of having to build a crankshaft from scratch and build connecting rods from scratch. build poppet valves from scratch. All you have to build from scratch is your camshaft.